Search AMC Exam 2026 right now and you'll be told the same thing over and over. The pass mark dropped, it got easier, now's your chance. Two problems with that. One, that news is from March 2024. People are resharing a 2-year-old change as this year update. And two, the thing is that actually change this year went the other way. The AMC raised the pass standard, the MCQ got harder. So let's do this properly. What changed, what didn't, what the clinical exam looked like, and the seat problem almost nobody is telling you about, which matters more than the pass mark ever will. One thing before we start. If you are watching this video, you have already done the hardest part. You have a medical degree. You have already proven you can pass exams that break other people. What's standing between you and Australia isn't your ability. It's information and the order you're doing things in. That much smaller problem. Let's solve it. The AMC has raised the pass standard for the MCQ from this year. That's their wording, not mine. Now here's where people get confused. Your report doesn't change. It still comes back on a scale of 0 to 500 and the pass is still described as 250. Same numbers you have seen always. What moved is the cut score behind it. The ability level you need to reach that 250 went up. So the number on your report looks identical. The bar behind it is higher. Nothing else about the MCQ changed. Same format, same question count, same duration. So if somebody tells you the AMC got easier this year, they are reading the wrong exam or the wrong year. The MCQ is 150 multiple choice questions, 5 options each, 1 correct answer. 3.5 years in one sitting. And it's a computer adaptive test, a CAT. That word matters more than most people realize. Here's what adaptive actually means for you. The exam adjusts to your ability as you go, so you cannot judge how you're doing from how hard it feels. Doctors walk out of the exam convinced they failed. That feeling is the format doing its job. It isn't a verdict. The fee, and check this on the day because the AMC moves it. The CAT MCQ authorization is 2,920 Australian dollars. Your authorization is valid for 12 months to schedule the exam. And then there is the part almost nobody uses. The AMC has its own free preparation app. 210 practice questions with feedback written by the people who write your exam. It started in 2025 and it's running this year with a refreshed question set. 210 free questions from the examiners themselves. Start there before you spend a rupee on a question bank. The clinical exam is 20 stations. 16 are assessed, 4 are rest. Each one runs 10 minutes, 2 minutes reading, 8 minutes assessment. Now, here's the part almost no video explains properly. Your result is decided by 14 scored stations and you pass on 9 or more of those 14. Read that again. You sit 16 assessed stations, 14 decide your result, 9 of those 14 is a pass. So, you can fail 5 scored stations and still pass in this exam. And the change everyone is celebrating? Moving the pass mark from 10 out of 14 to 9 out of 14. That was decided and applied on 21st March 2024. The AMC's own words. The AMC has changed the pass mark for the AMC clinical exam from 10 out of 14 stations to 9 out of 14 stations. It was not applied to any result before that date. Real change 2 years old, not a 2026 update. You're not chasing perfections across 20 stations. You're chasing 9 solid performances out of the 14 that count. That completely changes how you should practice. Here's the thing nobody puts in a thumbnail. When the AMC opens clinical exam places, it gives preference to candidates who already hold Ahpra, limited registration and are already working as a doctor in Australia Health Services. Everyone else competes for the smaller share of what's left. And that share is allocated first come. So it goes fast. Let me translate that out of a AMC language because the mechanism isn't the point. If you miss a seat release, you don't lose a booking, you lose a cycle. And a cycle isn't a date on a calendar. It's another year of explaining to your family why you're still waiting. Another year of watching your batchmates move ahead. Another year of that specific feeling every IMG knows. You have an Indian MBBS, you know exactly how hard you worked for it, and the system on the other side still doesn't know your name. So let's talk about how people actually get through this, because they do. Every cycle. 3 seats separate the doctors who get a seat from the doctors who wait another year. 1. They are ready the day release opens, not the week after. First come doesn't reward whoever wants it most. It rewards whoever is eligible and prepared at the moment the portal opens. MCQ cleared, documents verified, alerts set. Readiness is the entire competition. 2. They know the clinical exam isn't the only door. There is a second route called workplace-based assessment, WBA. You are assessed doing the job in an accredited hospital or general practice instead of sitting the clinical exam. To qualify, you need the MCQ passed, limited registration from medical board, and the appointment to an approved clinical position. And you apply WBA coordinator at the site itself, not to the AMC. The AMC fee for it is 1070 Australian dollars against 3000 for in-person clinical exam. Most people never look at WBA because nobody explains it to them. 3. They sequence instead of stacking. MCQ, registration, documents, seat release, visa. These have an order. Doctors have to do them in the right order to finish a year earlier than doctors who do them in the wrong one. Same effort, same exams, 1 year of difference. So let me be clear about who this pathway is still wide open for. If you have cleared the MCQ, or you can clear this cycle and you are willing to plan around the seat calendar instead of hoping it works out, Australia is very much still your pathway. The consistent isn't your ability, it's your timing, and timing is the one variable you can actually control. Some genuinely good news, the AMC cut the clinical exam fee. The in-person clinical exam is now 3000 Australian dollars. It was 3991. Online is 3400, down from 4391. That's nearly $1000 off the in-person exam. A real drop, not a rounding. So the exam got slightly harder and meaningfully cheaper. That's a trade most doctors will take. If you haven't sat the MCQ, book it earlier than feels comfortable. The pass standard rose and the clinical seat queue rewards people who are already through it. Use the AMC's free 210 question app before buying anything. Practice for 9 out of 14, not 16 out of 16. Build reliability across common stations instead of chasing rare ones. Look at workplace-based assessment properly before you assume the clinical exam is your only route. And treat booking as a part of your preparation. Release timing, eligibility and the WBA route are strategy. They are not admin. Then check every AMC update you see against amc.org.au, including this one. Dates matter and 2-year-old news is being sold to you as current. Here's the honest summary. The MCQ standard went up, the clinical pass mark changed, everyone's excited about happened in 2024. Fees came down and clinical seats leaned toward doctors already working in Australia. None of that makes Australia a bad decision. It makes it a decision that rewards sequencing. The right exam at the right time with the right registration underneath it. And here's the part I really want you to hear. Every doctor who is a registrar in Australia today was, at some point, exactly where you are right now. MCQ not cleared, seat not booked, timeline uncertain, wondering whether any of this was realistic. The only difference between them and the doctor still waiting is that somebody helped them to put the steps in the right order early enough for it to matter. That's the part we do. GooCampus works with the doctors on the Australia pathway end to end. AMC exam planning, the Ahpra registration route, documentation, seat and WBA strategy, and job placement support once you're through. If you're on this pathway, the link is in the description. And the honest reason to talk to someone now rather than in 6 months is simple. Almost every mistake on this pathway is a timing mistake. And timing mistakes can only be fixed before they happen. Tell me in the comments which stage you are at. MCQ, clinical or registration. I read them and it tells me what to make next.